All right, we're back again. Good to go. No hesitation. Let's get going. Mike, go ahead with the synopsis.
All right, this one is episode 5. I don't get it, not one bit. Team Gurren's continuing journey brings them to an underground village where society mandates a humbling existence and the worship of gunmen as divine beings. After leaving the village, Team Gurren is joined by Rosiu, the adopted son of the village chief, and 2 children, Gimme and Derry. The very first impression I got from this episode is how very similar yet different this is from the rest of the series so far. I think the most obvious difference is the almost complete lack of color.
It's jarring, but I really appreciated that they put an episode that did not involve the intense splash of color that's normally in all these episodes.
The other difference is it feels kind of gloomier, like it feels more reserved. Basically, it feels exactly like the culture of this village, not that much different from Jiha village where Simon and Kamina come from.
Yep.
And that explains why Kamina is acting very out of character.
Yeah, he hates that chief, and I got that right away. I'm like, first time watching, I'm like, what is he so pissy about? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Keep going. Sorry, go ahead.
Although I'm gonna be honest, this is probably my least favorite episode because it's
okay.
Because it's so I don't know. It felt off to me. That's probably the point.
Yep.
And I do appreciate some of the more like the commentary on religion, how usually the leaders are never telling the truth because they're trying to manipulate the people to like follow his orders, with all the usual lies of like it's what's best for the people and all that.
Yep. And I know you're probably going to get sick of me saying this, but it is rightfully to feel off now, and everything that felt off about this will get paid off later. Rossi is another person that has an amazing arc that puts him through some shit. But yeah, you were very right. This and some episodes and about 4 or 5 episodes to make you feel really off. And it is for a very good reason. You're going to feel like you're irritated at the show because there's certain things that happen that the characters are irritated about. There's a lot of times where in these episodes, they're wanting you to feel how the characters do. So they're purposely kind of jiggering the show to make you match their emotions. And this was one of the first times they did it. There's a really big version of it coming up, but
yeah. And what I said about this being my least favorite episode, I think that's entirely subjective because
absolutely.
Because what's great about this series is that like it's one of the most immersive in terms of you sharing the emotions of the protagonists.
Yeah.
I think I felt that a lot in this episode where like you're kind of frustrated with the situation because Kamina is frustrated with the situation.
Yeah.
And even Simone is like when Kamina is fighting with
Razio.
Razio and like the high priest, I can kind of relate to a lot of times where Simone is like kind of saying in the background, just drop it, let it go. I don't want to get involved.
Yep. No, and I get why out of all of them, I was kind of prepared for this one or the next one to say it was your least favorite because, like I said, you and me have had discussions about why you like the show so far, and this is the episode that literally just went, "You're getting none of that right now," and just drops it in a bin somewhere else. So I'm very okay with you saying that because I was actually kind of expecting it, especially with this one. It's I believe they, like I said, they do it for a reason for how they set them up. And there's a couple of characters that get very, like, almost episodes dedicated to you understanding exactly how someone's going to act in the future. And this is one of them with Rossiu. And Rossiu also he has the most consistently differently pronounced name in the entire series, I think.
Is this the one you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
No. That guy has his name pronounced the same way every time, and I hate it.
Oh, okay.
But no, Rossiu, I believe his name gets said 3 different ways in this episode. Rossiu, Rossiu, and Rossio. I believe all the different ways. I believe it's Rossiu. If the way that Simone says it most the most times later on, I believe it's Rossiu. But yeah, no, that's one thing that's kind of like whatever. But like you said, this is a very different episode, and this was one of the most times where it was like, I'm always like, the leader in Jiha Village is a bit of a douchebag. No, this guy's a douchebag.
This guy is worse than the leader in Jiha.
Yeah, the second where I was like, okay, they're gonna have the ceremony and whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like, who hasn't picked lots yet? And I'm like, that's what. Oh shit! And then they bring up that it was Gimme and Dari, and magically the 2 kids without parents are the ones that get the lots picked. Immediately, I was like, nope. Kamina wanted to kick this guy's ass, and I hope he gets to kick this guy's ass.
I'll admit, like, in the first half of the episode, I was even kind of getting annoyed with Kamina's disgruntlement, because at first it seems like he's just kind of being rude to these people and disrespecting their culture. Yeah. But then once we reach the end of the ceremony, I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I take that back. You were totally in the right.
Yeah, it's like he can sense it because from what you can see in the earlier episodes, he was the one that had the most issues with the guy from Jiha. Like, Simone obviously got treated really nicely from him. And then, like, I think that's partially why Simone does this, where he's just like, these people are doing what they're told, so they get along with them. Kamina is obviously against any sort of authority figure, period. So, yeah, and it's very stringent. And it's like I said, that's why I would like a separate series, just like looking at all these different villages. Like, they immediately made Yoko put her clothes on, which was the one I was like, is this going to be the one episode where they actually make her put clothing on? And then you get the reason for why she goes around in basically a swimsuit and boy shorts is that it restricts her movements and then she doesn't like it. I'm like, that is the most anime reason, period. Outside of the most anime reason I've ever heard in my entire life is, how much do you know about Metal Gear Solid 5?
Not that much.
Do you know who Quiet is? The sniper that everyone has at least seen pictures of?
I think I've seen pictures of.
She wears like torn apart like spandex pants and then a bra, and then that's it. It's because she breathes through her skin. And if she wore her clothes, she would suffocate. I was like, wow.
Yep, that is a very anime explanation.
Yeah, but yeah, and then the lots and stuff, and immediately what got me with the episode, and we'll bring it up, is the face gods, and they get called people from the celestial land. So just like, this was totally different to where when you were in Jiha, they had no idea what was on the surface. This guy knows what's on the surface, and he's lied to them about it, is what I always gather from this. Because he says celestial beings and face gods. I'm like, how do you even know what the word celestial means if you don't know what constellations are?
Yeah, that shows that he's a liar, but also he can't read.
Yeah, that was the part that I didn't get. They kind of Book of Eli'd him at the end of there. Like he wants to give that to, and I swore, I'm not going to say something because I have to be very, very careful when I'm talking with you about this so that I don't say massive spoilers, because I wrote something in my notes to talk with you about in the next episode, and I can't talk with you about it because it's a unbelievably giant spoiler. But yeah, when he brings that up and he's like, "Don't worry, I can't read either," and he kind of laughs, I'm like, that makes me ask so many more questions. Like, what are you teaching them? How do you know what a celestial being is? Do you heard words from the people that were in your village previously, and then you just copied them over? You're holding this village, and you don't know what their holy scriptures are, but you're hoisting people to act upon your holy scriptures. Oh,
man, the religious commentary in this episode is fascinating.
It is, and it's so out of nowhere and jarring. When I first started this, I'm like, if you would have told me that I would have got an entire episode based around people thinking gunmen are gods and we're gonna be having fighting for roughly maybe 20 seconds. Like, what show are you watching? I'm like, did we miss the part where we had people that fight with drills, big, manly samurai man, and boob physics? Like, are we, what? But they have a couple that are like this. And obviously, they'd waste no time getting back to the silly, which is in the next episode we'll get to. But, yeah, so then I have to think, now that I'm thinking about this. First episode, they got Yoko. Well, technically, I'll count it as they got Yoko as part of the team in the second episode. Or in the first episode. The second episode, they gained Liran. They don't get anyone in the third episode, right?
No, but that's when they meet Viral.
True. And then the fourth episode is when they meet the Black siblings, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I was going to say they gain a person per episode, but that would have been totally wrong. But yeah, this was basically, well, they gained 3 people this episode, actually, so it makes up for the other 2 where they didn't get it, because they get Gimme Dari and they get Rasiu. And if for anyone that notices, I need to look it up to confirm, I am very, very sure that Gimme is voiced by the same guy that voices TK in Digimon. I'm pretty sure he sounds just like him. I've never looked it up myself, but I always thought it.
I'm trying to find it, but I don't see it in the the main wiki page.
That's fine. You just sound so much like him. But yeah, I'll look that up later and put it in the show notes if I'm right about that. But yeah, this is a very bog standard. Not a lot happened. It was basically a setup episode to get 3 people onto the crew. And yeah, the whole it's you get these episodes where they spend an entire episode doing what most other shows would take about 5 minutes to do. Like they would have found these people in a cave in another episode. And they're just be like, oh, you guys got nobody. Okay, I guess you can tag along. They take an entire episode to set up their personality because it's going to start moving fast. And guess what? We got to teach you about the next people in the next one. And don't worry, once we got our crew together, then we're going to start doing stuff. If we want you to understand them all, so we're taking the time. But yeah, it's weird that there's not a lot to talk about in this one when it's one of the more, I want to say, plot heavy, or should I say lore heavy episodes in the world so far.
That's true. This one is, I don't say it's the most lore heavy, but it is lore heavy in how other people outside of the main characters view the gunmen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would love to get, and I'm sure there is a version of it somewhere, but I would love to get just a overly extended version of like a companion guide, kind of, where it doesn't tell you about the stuff in the show, but they like just take extra time to be like, this is blank village that you never saw on the show. They believe what and whatever. And then after such and such events, they do this and this and that. I would love to have something like that. That to me, it would be so cool. And
Yeah,
they have a
that would be cool.
It would be cool. They have a version of that in the big DVD or the Blu-ray thing that I've shown, which I don't know if I've ever actually shown while we were recording. I showed it afterwards. I'll show it at some point. It's the big, like $500 to $600 I hate Aniplex priced freaking box thing with all the gunmen on the front. It's the best. But yeah, I guess as we basically covered everything other than we've gotten Rossio, you've gotten Gimme and Dari, the two kids, and then Rossio, we've gotten that he doesn't believe anymore. Within an episode of meeting someone from the other land, he no longer believes in what he was being taught. It was that fast. And that kind of interests me that the second and it's an interesting thing that where the second what you believe, once you actually get to meet, like that was the equivalent of Prometheus falling through a hole with the fire, and then them being like, "Wait, hold on, you aren't anything like what you said you were." And it's like, yeah, as soon as you got to meet the gods themselves, you're just like, no, this isn't true. You've been telling me this for years. No. Like, and you're still trying to talk about it, even though they're down here. And the fact that they got to see him operate that gunman, you will never in this show see a gunman like that ever again. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but they do not have any more Easter Island head gunmen. That thing is so unique.
I'm kind of relieved. I mean,
yeah.
it was an interesting design, but like, I'm expecting more colorful gunmen in the future.
Oh, they are. I won't say the character that gets it, but there is a gunman that's in a shape of a star, and I think it's my favorite non-Gurren transformation version in the entire show. No, that is a lie. I just remember what my second favorite is. That star one's my third. The second one is probably is very closely tied for being the most badass thing in the show next to Gurren. And a lot of people will say that they like it more, and I do not blame them at all because it's awesome. But anyway, yeah. So we've got to the point where we pretty much talked about everything. So since this is your least favorite, what is something that this actually might get the most answer out of any times I've asked this? What is something you would have changed about how they handled the episode?
See, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what I would change. I would maybe just. I need to think about this for a second.
No, it's all good.
I think one thing I would change is I would make the high priest a little less cold.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point of this episode, and he's kind of the big reason why Rossio has his little crisis of faith.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just wish there was a little bit more going on with this episode, other than a repeat of the pilot, except harsher.
Okay, I can respect that. I get what you're saying, and that is a very valid criticism because I've heard a lot of people say that, and it is very true. It was the what I want to say. I don't want to say Zack Snyder version of what the pilot episode would be, but it's not far off. It is the Watchmen version of what the pilot episode would be. But yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, but yeah, it is definitely different. But in the next episode, we get back to the silliness. So in all of its high glory. All right. Yeah. So that's that. Another one down. Mike, where can they reach you?
You guys can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Captain K42. Check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And look for me in all the various Facebook pages just at my name. Check out Renegade Pop Culture on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts these days. And check out our website, renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
You got it. We just did a recent free-for-all podcast that I had a ton of fun on that we might, and I hope soon that we start a wrestling podcast because, oh boy, do I want to talk about the Twitch stupidity with Vince McMahon, because I didn't know if that man could be any more of an asshole than he already is, but oh boy, is he one greedy SOB. We'll talk about that more later on a podcast, I'm sure. You can you can find me at Organoid Zero. Speaking of Twitch, you can find me there. And on some of the Renegade podcasts, I've gotten to be a little bit more cozy with everybody over there. Everybody at Renegade Pop Culture is extremely awesome. They've been very kind to me, and I appreciate everybody there. Mike was the one that introduced me to it, so I'm very thankful for that. And on the YouTube channel, you're going to see this video on if you're not watching it live on Facebook, which I actually saw a couple people doing, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's the end of that. And spin on, everybody. I love you. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.